Yo, 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 what is going on, my beautiful brothers and sisters, fellow radiators of love? My name is Jamal Pope, aka J Phoenix, and this is going to be your daily tarot and astrology reading for the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. It's going to be on this Tuesday, September 17th of 2024. Appreciate you all joining me here in this video. Trusting that you guys are having a wonderful week so far. Eagles lost tonight, but I'm also a Falcons fan, so it's kind of weird. It's early in the season, but y'all didn't come here for football. Y'all came here for the astrology and the tarot. So let's go ahead and hop right into that, see what the cards say, see what the planets are doing for this full moon lunar eclipse. Let's get into it. All right, right off the back, I have the Page of Wands upright. You know what? I really do feel like this is one of those moments where it's like we can be looking at our lives right now, we can be looking at things right now, and we want to definitely feel more inspired, feel more motivated. We want to feel like, things are falling into place and stuff like that. The Page of Wands is someone who is very passionate and wants to go for it. It's the student, right? Whenever I think of Page, I think of like a student. And the Page of Wands, this is like kind of like that moment where you get to Hogwarts and it's your first year, right? And you're young and you're excited, you're motivated to learn about magic and shit, and then reality sets in, right? The Page of Wands is in reverse though. So I really do feel like a lot of this is coming down to there is a sort of hanging like feeling of like, I wouldn't say the lack of motivation, but there's a bit of a cloud here, right? That, maybe things aren't exactly the way that I thought it was going to be. I may not exactly be where I thought I'd be right now in my life at this current moment. The world seems so crazy. A lot of things are happening. I think a lot of people are looking for that purpose. They're searching for something that's deeper, something that is greater. This Page of Wands is definitely yearning for something more right now. And it comes down to what is within your heart. I think we spend so much time looking outside for answers, looking outside for clues, looking outside for different affirmations, looking outside for different synchronicities, looking for those angel numbers, looking for that stone that's going to make it better. And all these things are great. They can be wonderful tools for our spiritual development. But ultimately, it's something that comes from within. And I think that's what this Page of Wands in reverse is teaching us today. It's not that we can't be motivated or inspired. It's that this energy, this flame, it comes from within. It's not something that is external to us. I had that followed by the Three of Cups in reverse. So I think the challenge here is knowing who to connect to. The Three of Cups is all about connecting to the right people, but it's also about fellowship. It's about, it's kind of like the party card where you're getting together with people, you're partying, you're celebrating, but it is in reverse. So it's about knowing who to connect with, right? And also it's maybe even so appreciating the company that is there right now. I think that God has us all where we need to be right now. And I think we can look at where we are and we can start playing the comparison game. We can start looking at where he is and where she is and where they are, and we may start to idolize that position or wherever they are, or what we perceive to be a better spot than where we are. But God has us where we need to be right now. So I think not only is it about connecting to the right people, but I think this is also about look at the people who are here right now in your life. Look at the people that are building you up. Look at the people that appreciate you, that love you, that look at the people that hold you accountable. That's another one too. Look at those people, right? That is what we need to focus on right now. The party isn't something that is external, especially since this card is reversed. It's much more internal, right? It's a lot closer to home than we realize. Remember, Jupiter is in Gemini right now. So the party isn't way out there in some foreign land or in some foreign place. It's actually a lot closer to home than we realize. Let's take a look at the astrology, right? We have the moon that's going to start the day off here in, Pisces, of course. It's going to be in Pisces all day, but it is, of course, conjunct Saturn opposing Mercury. So emotionally, we are reacting and responding more to Piscean-like things. The unseen energies, that's what Pisces is. It's the natural 12th house. It is unseen energy. It is these probably more unseen influences. But if we are a little more tapped in spiritually, we can become more aware of these influences. Now, Saturn, of course, is about integrity. Being in Pisces is about spiritual integrity and doing the spiritual work, and how no one's going to do that work for you, right? So we start the day off with that energy, right? So not very comfortable. You got to remember, the moon and Saturn rule opposite signs. The moon rules Cancer, and Saturn rules Capricorn. So they rule opposite energies. So for them to come together here in Pisces with Neptune, right, with a full moon lunar eclipse is something that you just do not see very often. You just don't, right? You got to think that the last time that Pisces was here, right, and the last time that Saturn was here in Pisces, right, if you think back to like 94, 95, I think like late 96, right, or like early 96 is when the last time that Saturn was here. Where were the nodes? The nodes were in Scorpio and Taurus, respectively, right? So we haven't seen a full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces with Saturn. You have to go back. I haven't done the math yet, but you have to go back quite a while to even see that, let alone with Neptune here in Pisces. So we're talking like probably nobody alive has seen this, which means that this is a moment that all of our spirits have been waiting for in our souls. Because what's a full moon lunar eclipse? What's a regular full moon, right? It is generally a release point, right? You're releasing energy to hopefully bring in fresh energy for the following new moon, right? It is a release point. What's a full moon lunar eclipse? It is a karmic major release point. What's a full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces? This is a multi-life release. We're talking releasing karma from multiple lifetimes, right? Because Pisces, being the last sign of the zodiac, you gotta think about it. It is really the only sign that exists outside of space and time. Why did I say that? Well, because Saturn, the ruler of time, rules Capricorn and traditionally rules Aquarius. So that means that all the other signs, in many ways, in some way, are encapsulated by time. Pisces is the only one that's outside of that bitch. So this release point is going back multiple lifetimes. That's why it can feel so heavy. That's why Saturn, which rules lead in astrology, especially like medieval astrology, it rules lead, so it's heavy. That's why emotionally the day starts off pretty heavy. Because there is so much to release here that this is about forgiveness. This is about being easy on ourselves. This is about having compassion for ourselves and for other people. This is about not being so hard on ourselves. This is about lightening our load. Quite literally, right? Lightening our load. Spiritually, from a soul level, there's a lot to be released here. And what happens when you release a lot of things? Well, therein leaves a bit of a void. So there's going to be a void aspect to this as well. Now, what you fill that void with is going to be up to you, right? So we start the day with that moon on Saturn, and we will see it throughout the day make some other aspects. It's going to square over to Jupiter, so we get a challenging aspect right here, right? That moon, of course, responding more to Piscean-like things, which Pisces is a bit of a wild card. It's the genie, it's the magician, it's the mythic, right? It rules the unseen energies, but it also rules things like drugs. It also rules things like mania. It also rules the media, right? Like TV and like fantasy and all those sort of things, right? Jupiter and Gemini, of course, is looking for the adventure more closer to home and more local. Not necessarily something that's way out there in Sag world, but something that's a little bit more closer to home in Gemini world, which Gemini, of course, is looking for the facts here, right? So there could be this weird, oscillation, I would say, with the moon in Pisces and Jupiter and Gemini, people trying to figure out what the hell is their reality in the first place, right? Because this is mutable energy. This is all dealing with the axis of perception, especially considering the fact that, of course, we have Mercury and the Sun here in Virgo. It's all about your perceptions, the way that you're perceiving things, right? So two people can perceive the same thing vastly different. And usually the truth is somewhere in the middle, usually, right? So we're going to see that moon make that square over to Jupiter, which is just going to... Jupiter has the potential to kind of potentiate things, kind of make things bigger, to kind of expand upon things. But how much can Jupiter really expand in the tiny box that is Gemini? Not saying that Gemini itself is tiny or don't have the ability to think big. I'm just saying that Jupiter is such an expansive energy, right? And Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury, which is the smallest planet in the universe, or not in the universe, but in our solar system, right? As far as we know, our universe, but it's the smallest planet in our solar system, right? Like I said, this is like a big cat trying to fit into a tiny box and trying to make it work. The moon of Pisces, it feels like a cat trying to fit into a small little fishbowl, right? And maybe you feel like that in some way. Maybe you feel like there's so much more that you can give, and there's so much more potential to who you are, but maybe you're upset that you haven't lived up to that potential, and now you're trying to fit all that into this tiny little box, or this tiny little fishbowl, right? And you're needing to kind of break free and release, and to expand into that space, right? But here's the thing, though. In order to really get to that place, you have to do the spiritual work. Now, what does that spiritual work look like? It's something that's more intuitive. This is Pisces. It's something that's not, it's outside of the realm of just like what is obvious. It's outside of the realm of what science can prove. It's something that is more so felt, right? As a Pisces moon, I get it. But if you don't have a lot of 12th house energy, or if you don't have like your moon in Pisces or even Cancer, I would say Scorpio, but if you don't have your moon in at least one of those water signs, whatever like that, or prominent planets there, it can be a little bit harder to navigate the energy, right? Because it's not something that is just super obvious. It is something that is much more felt, right? And that's when you're kind of doing the spiritual work, per se. But we will see this moon also. Said it hits that 25th degree. It's going to be later on in the day, of course. And we will see the full moon lunar eclipse here at 25 degrees. Now, of course, before it even hits that, it does make a quincunx over to Venus. So once again, that's that awkward stare from across the room, as I like to call it, 150 degrees. Moon in Pisces, Venus in Libra. We can definitely feel like things are unfair. We can definitely play the comparison game, especially because Venus is all about relationships. So we may start comparing ourselves in our various relationships, and may start to judge ourselves as far as like where we are in our life compared to where other people are in our life. Whether the relationship is as intimate as obviously the relationship that you have with yourself, or the relationship that you have with a lover, or it's like your parents, or your kid, or your pet, or the celebrity that you idolize, or your coworkers and teammates, to just, I guess, really anybody, right? To the person that makes the funny reels on Facebook and TikTok that you like to watch. We may start to project our perception of what we think their life is like in the fantasy, and may start to want to embody that or be that, or get upset that we don't have that. When God has a plan for you, that is what we should accept and embrace. And it may not necessarily feel super comfortable right now. It may not feel like rainbows and sunshine, all that good shit, right? But it is your story. It is your journey. So this is a full moon to practice compassion, to practice forgiveness, to practice patience. That's the other thing about Saturn and Pisces that it's teaching is patience. Because since Saturn does rule time and it's in Pisces, which is beyond time, this really is about learning God's timing. The universe's timing, whatever you want to call it, right? I say God's timing, right? So this is gonna be a big one. It's gonna be a doozy, and I think this is gonna be one of those ones where you want to just take time throughout the day to reflect, to practice gratitude, to remind yourself that you're doing the best you can with your given circumstances. You know, the sun is still in Virgo, so there's still a energy of needing to plan things out and stuff too, and to strategize. But also, like I said, this Virgo is also like they are hyper fixated on perfecting things and perfectionism. If you're trying to be perfect right now, if you're wanting to be perfect right now, this is one of those moments where it's like, yo, we're kind of throwing paint at a canvas and seeing what works, right? I think a lot of times we can project a certain image onto that canvas, and it seldom comes out the way it looks in our mind. And we love to think that the way that we see it in our mind will be more beautiful than what the actual art piece would be. But the actual art piece that will come to be, that manifests, is the one that's supposed to be. And more times than not, it's probably actually more beautiful. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things. So this is about trusting the timing of the universe, trusting the timing of God. It's about forgiveness. It's about letting go. It's about doing the spiritual work. It's about being okay with not being perfect, being okay with imperfection. It's about those sort of things. I know, like, for me, like, personally, like, if I just think about, like, for me personally, one of the things that I've been mulling over a lot lately is, writing and the different stories that come. And this moon is, I have a Pisces moon. My moon is at 28 degrees of Pisces. So this Neptune is on my moon, and this full moon lunar eclipse is within 3 degrees of my moon. So, like, this is hitting me on a soul level. And, like, lately the dreams for me have been just wild. Like, the dream I had, like, Sunday night going into Monday morning, like, it was weird. It really was. And it's like, it was weird even for me. Like, and I have weird dreams. I've dealt with them my entire life. But it does feel like something is being unlocked. It does feel like I'm clearing out some kind of energy. It really does. And for me, it's like with the whole writing thing, one of the things that has held me back is feeling like I need to have the perfect concept. I'm going to use that word since everyone's so obsessed with the concept of something right now and making fun of a concept, right? I have a concept of an idea. Yeah, I've had a lot of concepts of different ideas for stories and books and novels and whatever like that, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with concepts personally, but I haven't written that story yet. I think it's because I'm addicted to the inspiration of a story instead of actually writing it. And it's something that I've actually known for a while, but it's something I'm just kind of saying out loud right now. And one thing I've realized that when it comes to writing, and we'll see if I actually follow through with this bitch, right, is when it comes to especially like the first draft is a sprint. You're just trying to get it all out on paper. You're trying to get it all on paper because like your first manuscript, your first draft is going to be 90% bullshit. So you're just getting it all out. But my problem is that I've always have held myself back, and I've never just gotten it all out. I've never let the story evolve organically. I always stopped the progress somehow because I felt like I just had another better idea. Instead of just sprinting and writing the damn thing and then seeing how it evolves after that first draft. Because it could completely evolve, but maybe there's some concepts within that sprint that make it to the final product. And I have to learn how to forgive myself. After, how old am I now? Fucking 32 years old. And I've known I wanted to write stories since I was like in 4th, 5th grade. I have to forgive myself for damn near 20 years of not completing a novel. I have a poetry book that I finished. I'm using myself as an example, but I have to learn how to forgive myself for not having published the book, the novel. I'm not giving up on the dream. That's for damn sure. I'm not giving up on it. But I have to learn how to forgive myself. And I think we all have something that we have to forgive ourselves for. And just realize that, maybe the timing was just off. It just is what it is. We can beat ourselves up. We can be hard on ourselves. But we have to just find a way to move forward. I think when it comes to that thing that we feel like we have to figure ourselves on, I feel like we're all getting some sort of like insight or epiphany as to maybe why it didn't work out in the past. So maybe it didn't work out in the past because I needed to live certain experiences that will contribute to the book or the story that I meant to write. I hadn't experienced I didn't have those experiences 3 years ago, 4 years, 5, 10, 15 years ago. Maybe I needed those experiences. Maybe it'll make my story more believable. Regardless of the reasons, it's about appreciating where I am right now. And one thing I can say for me, and I know I'm kind of focusing a lot on me, but I'm just using myself as an example, is that like, I'm just grateful that I continue to have a flow of ideas. And the creativity never stopped. It kept flowing. Whether I picked up on a different sigil or not, the ideas and the creativity kept flowing. And that is the thing I'm grateful for. Even if I didn't write the novel, become a New York Times bestseller, the creativity is still flowing. It's still there. And there is plenty to go around. It's not something that is finite. It is something that is infinite. And that's the thing that I'm grateful for. So hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully you can take that message and that you can apply it to your life. But I really think this is a full moon. It's going to be incredibly powerful. One that we haven't felt in quite a while, being that it is an eclipse. And I think it's interesting too that the North Node is in Aries, but the eclipse is in Pisces. So there is a level of willpower that comes from this. And because the North Node is in Aries and it's beyond Neptune here, there is this level of like, emotionally, it may be hard for us to be able to see behind the veil that is this Neptune. But really, it's that North Node in Aries that's like, having the willpower to push through and see what is truly possible and to embody it and to be it is super important. And yes, Chiron is with this North Node. It's a little bit further away, but it's about overcoming those challenges and overcoming our perceived weakness, thinking that it's something that is holding us back, when really it is that weakness that is probably one of our greatest gifts in disguise. I have the Three of Swords in reverse. This is actually not bad at all. This lets me know that your heart is healing. It lets me know that your heart is healing. Any perceived heartbreak in the past, because this is about past heartbreaks, not current heartbreaks. Nothing new. It's about the past. So it's about the healing that can come from this full moon. So allow this full moon lunar eclipse to heal you, to heal your being, heal your spirit, heal your soul. It's going to be a powerful one, that's for sure. We got 2 3s and a page here, right? So it definitely lets me know there's some powerful energy going on. I have Gaia. The frequency of Gaia reminds us that we are infinitely connected to one another, just as to our great mother and to the universe that birthed us all. Lets me know that Gaia is going to go through some major shedding as well with this full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. So this is a collective evolution, a collective release. It's not something that's just going to be one, especially considering the fact that this is Pisces, so it does deal with the collective. But like I said, that North Node is still in Aries, so it lets me know that still when it comes to the spiritual journey and the healing, it is something that you have to do on your own, and nobody's going to do it for you. But the good thing is that you can connect with other people that could help you along the way and be friends, because we can't do it all alone, right? But you have to, but there are aspects of the journey that you do have to do alone, and it kind of comes down to choice and deciding to heal. That's what it comes, deciding to heal, deciding to forgive yourself, and you may not feel the full effect of it 100% immediately, but it's the choice and the decision to go ahead and just do it that's really important. It gets the ball rolling. Yeah, that's going to do it. That's going to do it for your full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces video. I trust that this message will assist you on your journey today. I will be doing the weekly astrology horoscope too. Probably sometime Tuesday, like earlier in the day, probably like 11:30ish, noon or so. But we'll see. But y'all take care. Stay blessed. Have a wonderful full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. World is shifting. World is changing. Let's get it. Y'all take care. Stay blessed. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you all on the next video. Peace.